Hey everyone. So, did I follow through with my plan? Did I work at least 20 minutes around 8 o'clock on my Brain Jam Extra video? Yes, I did. And it was surprisingly fun. I don't know why I made a big fuss about it in my head before. Pretty awesome. But before we get into that, how about we go ahead and get into the diet update first? So I weighed myself this morning, and you're not going to believe this, but I went from 152 to 153.2. I jumped up 1.2 pounds from yesterday. I think this has something to do with the fact that I probably overate yesterday, and on top of that, I didn't do enough exercise to expend any energy. So maybe my body was just collecting the food and storing it as fat, or maybe it's just water weight, which would probably be the more likely explanation. Whatever the case is, that's not something you want to see on the scale in the morning. It increasing it's a pretty bad thing. Moving along, what was eaten today? Well, for breakfast, I had a omelet with Mexican cheese and chopped up bell peppers and onions. It was made by my mom, and it was really good. Add a cup of coffee to go along with it, with 2 espresso shots. Next, I remember I ate an ounce of beef jerky, or I think it was called steak chunks was the name of it. It was actually really good. I really liked that. That was tasty. And I remember, I think I had another cup of coffee. Later in the day, when I arrived home from work for lunch, I had 2 microwaved hot dogs. They were microwaved for 1 minute and 30 seconds on 2 keto breads that were freshly bought by my mom. That of course we all split the bill at the end of the month after everything's bought, so gonna eventually pay for that. But so we had that, mayonnaise, it had mustard and ketchup, and then we had some Quest chips, and we ate those, and that was really good. I didn't have any soda. We don't have sodas right now, so I had to make do with just water. It was fine. I always like something exciting to drink with my hot dogs or anything that's considered not really that healthy, but still fits within the parameter of the diet. Then, after eating that, I remember I had a keto-friendly peanut butter and jelly and sandwich with the keto-friendly bread, and of course the my normal allulose sweetened strawberry jelly and peanut butter. Pretty good. Cup of coffee to go with that. And I completely forgot to mention, but earlier today I had keto chocolate chunks, which was like a culmination of different nuts and seeds and coconut shavings covered in dark chocolate, with only 4 grams of net carbs per ounce. So I had that too earlier today. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, overall I enjoyed my meals well enough. Oh yeah, and then I had a half of a bag of these Harvest Snap flaxseed circles. I had half a bag instead of a whole bag because a whole bag would have been 11 grams of carbohydrates, and I only wanted 5 grams of carbohydrates, so that's why I split it, so I wouldn't go over my carb limit for the day. All right, well, now we've covered what was eaten. Let's cover what was done for exercise. And I'm sorry to report, nothing really was done for exercise today. unless you count a lot of walking at work. Yeah, that old song and dance. But hey, that's what happened. All right, well, now that we have covered the diet update, we can go on to the daily update. So, for the daily update, I remember I woke up at 8 and I desperately wanted to go back to sleep. I was so tired. I was like, I don't want to do this any. I just want to go back to sleep and then go to bed until like 10 or 11. But then I remember my mom was up at the same time I was up, and she actually encouraged me to work on my Brain Jam Extra video. And so that encouragement meant the world, because that's all I needed to convince myself, okay, let's lock in. We're going to do this Brain Jam thing. I said I was going to do it. I need to be a man of my word if I want my word to mean anything. So here I go. So I brewed some coffee after drinking like a few cups of water. I sat in front of my computer. I turned it on. I got everything set up. I had to update my Adobe Premiere Pro so it would function normally, along with the what do you call that? The encoder app. And finally, when all that was done, while I was waiting for it to update, I watched a Digital Foundry video of like the top 5 games of the year from Oliver McKenzie. And then a lady talked about how TikTok is basically training people to be impatient and to not really pay attention to what they're enjoying or watching or seeing or really thinking about anything they're consuming at all, which is troubling. But yeah, after watching that, I could work on my short or my Brain Jam Extra. I put a timer on for 20 minutes, and I worked on that for 20 minutes. And most of that time was simply just spent zooming the camera in on text, having the text scroll throughout, making sure, like, as I was reading the text, like the speed of scrolling through what was being read was like the same speed as how fast I was reading. I just think it creates sort of a frantic and fun and a little chaotic energy that's interesting to watch, and so that's why I'm putting that in there for now. It was actually a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. I had a blast doing it. After the 20 minutes were up, I got up out of my room. I was planning on watching the behind the scenes of the Elephant cartoon that I watched with my sister yesterday. So I got out. My mom was writing in her journal. She stated that she was also hungry, so she recommended I get some eggs out from the back kitchen. And so I got those eggs and I brought them in the indoor kitchen. And I washed a pan, and we had bacon. Oh, sorry, not bacon. We had eggs. A big omelet that had vegetables and cheese in it, and it was actually really good. I really liked it. My mom did a really awesome job. 2 big thumbs up. And I had a cup of coffee to go with it. I offered my mom a cup. She said yes, so I poured her a cup using the coffee machine. And then after that, I decided to say, hey, after I'm done watching this whole elephant like behind the scenes video, would you be interested in going for a walk with me? And she's like, yeah. So I went into my room with a freshly brewed cup of coffee, and I watched this behind the scenes of the elephant animated experimental short film project. And it was really cool to see all the creators there watching the final product for the first time, like fully come together. And then hearing their creative process, which, sometimes it's really silly, like the creator of Adventure Time Pendleton Award, like said, hold on, before I work on my story, I need to do this. And he made like fart sounds with like clapping his hand palms of his hands together. I think that's what it was, something like that. And and then after that, he made like a funny comment where he was like, I do that because that's the deal I made with the devil in order to make my cartoons good. So pretty goofy stuff there. Um, Rebecca Sugar and the guy who did OKKO, they worked together on the middle short, and they talked about how they wanted to do something that people wouldn't have expected from them. Like, people expect a certain thing from those two creators, and they wanted to do something that was completely unexpected and a lot of fun and interesting and completely just out there. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then, like, the final short, which was done by a guy, Patrick McHale, I think was his name. He got a lot of different artists to get involved in his short segment. Like, he got a guy who like does entire animated films on his own, like to do a short little sequence. He got different like animation companies from like around the world to work on different segments. It was the most diverse of the three projects, where there was a lot of like different developments done. And then the final bit that he worked on, he got help from the same animation studio that did Over the Garden Wall, as well as the same music studio that did Over the Garden Wall. And speaking of music, all three creators chose their personal favorite artists that they would want to work with to bring this project to life. So just seeing them all like work kind of on their own, and then seeing it all come together with the loose themes of beginning, middle, and end, and it being based on what they referred to as like I think they said like the Immaculate Corpse or something, where that's apparently what you call the idea of folding paper in three, and one person does the head, one person does the torso, and the other person does the legs. And remember how in my last video, if you some managed to watch the whole thing, when I get to that segment where like I saw like the design of like the main character in Act 2, it was like, that looks like a character where they knew what project this was, so they decided to design a character like how the project was going, with like the head, the torso, and the legs, and that's how they did it. Turns out that I was pretty much on the mark with that one, but instead of like them doing it independently of each other, all the cartoon creators came around and they all did their own like randomized like heads and torsos and legs for all the characters, and then they were given like a character to choose after they designed their own, and whichever character they chose, they would have to work with for the short. So it was pretty much, I was pretty much spawned, but I guess I thought that the first character was so coherent looking that it was hard for me to like wrap my head around the fact that maybe this character was done with a head, torso, and leg idea. I guess the dead giveaway was like the Bigfoot and the Littlefoot, and everything else was just felt more so like unified, except for the Bigfoot and Littlefoot of the first character in the first short. But as the short film went on, it became increasingly obvious that that's exactly what the artist did, because the character in Act 2 looks exactly like how you would design a character like that, and same goes for the character in Act 3. And this was a really interesting behind the scenes look. It just was fun hearing all these creative members just talk about their experience working on this project and how they enjoyed how experimental it was, and that they were glad they were able to be involved in it. And I just think that's awesome. But yeah, after watching that, I remember I decided to go and ask my mom if she wanted to go on that walk. She said yes. So we went on a 40-minute long walk around the neighborhood. We stopped 35 minutes in where I needed to use the restroom, and then after it was done, we finished our 5 minutes and returned home. Then my mom and our family friend decided to go to the store to pick up some food, and when they left, um, I decided to go in my room and take the note I was given by one of my coworkers right here, and try to discern what should be something I should study first. And ultimately, what I came up with was the first one, contour. So that's what I decided to choose to work on. I found a video on YouTube of a lady who was describing how to practice contour, and essentially what it comes down to is simply just drawing what you see as good as you possibly can while managing to remain as consistent and in tune with your subject matter you're drawing to begin with. So I thought that was really interesting and really cool way of describing how to draw. And I even tried doing it myself. I was looking at my hand and I was drawing it on my Wacom tablet screen, and I'm not gonna say it was perfect, but honestly I kind of embrace the imperfections that come with the territory of doing something, because it shows it was like human made, and that there's someone who's attempting to do something here that sure isn't perfect, but shows that there's intent to improve. And I think that's really cool. I think it says a lot about the human spirit, in my opinion. After I was done studying contour for like 15-20 minutes, I asked my sister if she wanted to check out my hand. She said yes, so I showed her the hand. She seemed to think it was pretty cool, but she also said that the thumb was a little on the short side. She was like, oh yeah, better watch that thumb next time. Then I remember when me and my mom returned home from our walk that there was a package for me, and it turned out that it was the season 1 Blu-ray box set of the X-Files. And I asked my sister if she'd be interested in watching an episode with me, and she said in like 20 minutes. I was like, all right. So while she was doing her stuff, I was setting everything up, and yeah, I had it all going. And then my sister came. She found her cat Calmy, and brought her into the brought him, the cat is a he, into the room. And she was trying to get the cat to allow her to grab him, but he was being hard to get. So yeah, that was annoying because we wanted to squish him. Anyways, when she was done with her what she needed to do, I decided to pour an ounce of the keto friendly chocolate and a cup of coffee, and my sister had a cup of coffee too. And we watched this new episode we hadn't seen yet of the X-Files. I think it was episode 3 of season 1. And this one was pretty interesting. It was like about like this like guy who eats livers from people in order to survive, and he's able to like contort his body and like stretch in really peculiar ways in order to get to his victims. And it is a really compelling video, or really compelling episode to watch. I really liked it. I was getting into it too, and so was my sister. Then my mom and our family friend arrived around the last 5 minutes of the show, so we went in. We helped bring a lot of the food in, or all the food in, and there was the meat that was available, the steak bites. So I decided to pour an ounce of that to have, and my sister and my mom tried some. They thought it was really good. I had some, and I also thought it was really good as well. Really smoky, a little bit on the tender side, kind of like a premium fancy Slim Jim, I guess you could say. Really liked it. And I was eating that while we were finishing up the liver harvesting episode of X-Files. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun romp. A little spooky though, not gonna lie. Well, anywho, I then needed to get ready for work. So as I was putting on my clothes and getting ready, I was listening to a new Eyes on Cinema video, or not new, but one that was released earlier, where a guy apparently was able to get super close to Area 51 with a high quality like telescope or like, you know, zooming in apparatus, and he was able to record what he saw. And supposedly he saw devices that defied the laws of physics there, that could like do 90-degree turns at the drop of a hat without needing to make wide angle turns, or like they could switch directions in any way possible and just do whatever they wanted. And it was a really interesting story to hear for sure. I always enjoy hearing that lore. It's a lot of fun. Then I wet my hair. I combed it. I was in my clothes for work. I said goodbye to my mom, our family friend, and my sister, and I drove off to work. And to be honest, there's really not much to talk about with work today. It was pretty slow. I did cards for the first hour. I did a lot for the next 2 hours. On my first break, I refilled my water canteen, and I also did a little bit of breath work, which was nice, I suppose. And then I punched out for lunch after my fourth hour, where I was doing a lot, and made sure to have a lot clear before punching out. Not much to say other than I did my duty for the first half, and definitely for the second half as well. But I drove back home. When I arrived home, I got out of the car. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, there is one notable thing that happened. We were giving away pine cones to customers that we didn't sell, and I remember saying, "Ooh, I'd like a pine cone," and she's like, "You want to have it?" The customer who was given the pine cone for free was like, "Ooh, are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can get another free pine cone bag." It's like, "Oh, thank you." So I grabbed it. I was like, "Oh, this is like a Christmas gift. This is amazing. I like this." And I put it in my car on my first break, and then when I went back into my car to drive home for lunch, my car smelled like pine cones. It was really nice. I really liked that. But eventually I arrived back home. I took the pine cones out. I put them in the house. And then our family friend and my sister were watching this little film of the Slender Man killing of like, it was like a girl, and she was able to convince her friend that like the Slender Man phenomenon was real in their eyes, and that she needed to do a sacrifice with her friend in order to summon Slender Man. So yeah, it was and this was a real story. This is something that actually happened. It was pretty crazy, not gonna lie. But as my sister and her family friend were watching that, I decided to make my hot dogs. I put mustard and mayonnaise on them. I got a bag of Quest cheese chips, and I got a cup of water, and I was listening to the year end of the Simmy and Jimmy channel, where they called it like the last Trash Rats podcast of the year, where they're just talking about all manner of different subjects. And it was pretty funny. And then after that, I decided to watch a little bit of, what was it called again? Oh yeah, Papa Meat, where he was talking about like people who are put in charge of like making sure that no one's bringing any bombs on like any airplanes or whatnot. Like I'm forgetting what the job was called, but that's what it was. the video, and he was talking about like how he thinks like, oh, should I feel bad for these people for having to deal with all this and having such a high turnover rate for this job, or should I think, yeah, you deserve that? Like, and the whole video was basically going through different stories of like people who like get into all kinds of manner of nonsense with this job, and it's pretty interesting to hear. And of course, his humor is always makes me laugh. I always think it's really funny. After watching that, I decided to make a peanut butter and jelly. I decided to eat a bit of the flaxseed circles, and then that were sour cream and onion flavored. It was really good. I had a cup of coffee, and I said goodbye to my mom, my sister, a family friend, and I drove off back to work, where I spent my first hour taking out the trash, and then doing the sweeps, bagging for customers, making sure lot was clear at the end of the day. And my coworker brought 16 carts and signs. They refilled the bags. I had to finish the refilling process by the end because there were some check stands I needed some more refilling. So I did that. And yeah, I helped wipe down check stand 4. And I punched in all my sweeps, and that was that. Yeah, not much to say other than, it was fine. It was nice, I guess. I then punched out. I said goodbye to my co-boss and one of my coworkers, and I drove off home. Or when I arrived, I said hello to my mom. My mom told me that my sister was trying to get cat that was like a white cat that was in the backyard, but the white cat escaped. But Malcolm, one of our cats, was sitting in the back there, and she was just watching. And then I decided to take my vitamins. I decided to brush my teeth and use mouthwash. And now I am here. I decided, to write in my journal. I wrote some in there for 10 minutes. That felt good. And now I'm recording this update video. That's pretty much it. It was an alright day. It's a pretty productive day. Got a little bit done. That's always nice. I'm going to bed now. Good night and take care. See you in the next one.